This is the burning issue on the happy world of 5FM radio, bringing you hot, smoldering topics on a weekly basis. Participation is important.
Great to be back. It's Thursday, and welcome. It is the 7th of December 2023. We are grateful that you found time to tune in to your favorite burning issue, and precisely the Thursday edition. Now, we are live also on our partner radio stations. Let's start off with Tuta Radio, that's Tuta FM in Mansa on 90.7. They are live. We are live on that particular platform. Thank you very much for tuning in. We are also live in Mchinga province, precisely Chinsali. That's where Mchinga Radio is, covering the rest of Mchinga province on 88.1 FM. Copper Belt is well covered, and of course, we are live on our favorite iWave FM radio that is in Chingola, covering the rest of the Copper Belt. And we are grateful for tuning in, and thank you very much, all Copper Belt people. And Central Province is well catered for as well. We are live on the mighty 91.1, and that's Spice FM radio in the rest of Central Province. We are grateful. Thank you very much for joining us. And here in Lusaka, we are live on 5FM radio on 89.9, and this includes the surrounding areas. We are on the southern side of Zambia. Southern Province is well catered for. We are live on M radio 98.7 in Mazabuka, covering the rest of Southern Province. And also we page, and that's 5FM Radio Zambia, and our YouTube channel. You can look up for it. It's 5FM Zambia. I'm your host, Zakaria Banda. Now, today, my guest is the People's Alliance for Change president in Andyford, Mayele, Banda. It's always a pleasure. Welcome to this particular edition, Thursday edition of the Burning Issue.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Zakaria, and the 5FM family. Good morning to all the listeners out there. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to discussing various issues that are affecting the nation.
Indeed. My first question will be based on the fact that the political environment, generally from my research, everyone out there feels like we are in an election year of some sort, because politics time, we don't know why. But that said, if the feeling is like that by many people, it entails also to political parties like yours, which is People's Alliance for Change, to begin to prepare for 2026 through mobilization. How are you doing in that regard?
We are warming up. We are working, and we are moving. Obviously, our strength has always been our message to the people of Zambia. That has been our biggest strength, and our experience. From the time we came back from leave and engaging the Zambian people on various platforms, it looks like our message is now getting, to the people, and they're understanding it, they want it, and that is quite encouraging, especially after taking. So I think we're in a better place. Also, the fact that we're not from zero. We have been quite active politically from 2016, where we participated in our first election. I was privileged to represent the party and come out at number 4. And then we participated in a number of by-elections across the country between 2016. And then we participated in the general elections again. And I stood as president again, and I came out number 4 again. And then we continued, and then took a bit of a break. And then we are back now, trying to actually busy, especially with the beginning of the year 2024. So from our engagements with the various people, I think, they've been waiting, and they've been wondering, where we have been but I think there's some that believe in us and support us, and those that have been looking out for us to say, oh, okay, these guys are back. And there's one caller that called on one of the platforms, and he said, I just called to say that, Mr. Andyford, Banda, you're back. Oh, I'm very happy. Bye.
Yeah.
So it was quite gratifying, that, there are people really who have been wondering and, and waiting for us. But I must hasten, to say that, politics is not an easy, endeavor. It takes a lot of sacrifice. And, we have to sacrifice a lot of our time, resources, and take a lot of risks, to venture into politics. So it's not something that is an easy journey, especially for some of us who are a visionary and want to see a better Zambia, and who have pledged and uh, and vowed that we'll never give up until we see a better Zambia. It's not about but it's about the quest to see this country be on the right track, ensuring that it's giving opportunities, to the people, equal opportunities, that is, ensuring that, the political space is conducive for everybody, ensuring that our democracy is protected, ensuring that, we, our institutions are strengthened, and, the potential of the country which people is exploited. So that is what we want, and that is what we are going to do and work on, and we believe that it's a matter of time. We should be able to get there.
What was your leave about? I mean, was this the case of there's a new party in government and there is a need to give them time, observe them from a distance, and see how they progress? What was it all
Yeah,
about?
basically it was part of that. I mean, we had been running from 2016,
Yeah.
and we are not a political party like these other political parties who were established like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Our party was established just like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and yeah, most of the people that we've been competing with had, especially those that were on top of us, have been around for quite some time.
Right.
Like there had been, you know, their political parties were registered, in the some, before 2000, others, in 2000, when there was that confusion of the third term. So for us, and the other issue is that so we didn't inherit a political platform really.
Right.
So we had to build something from scratch, something that we believed, carried a different, message for the people of Zambia and whatnot. And we don't come from political backgrounds. It was a belief that what, this is the direction that the country needed. And I think our thinking when we started the People's Alliance for Change PAC in 2015 up to now, we still believe that our thinking was correct. First of all, we didn't expect much from the PF, and true to our expectations, the PF were booted out in 2021. And then obviously the UPND, clearly, they have demonstrated, levels of, struggling, in the managing of the affairs of the country. And so definitely there is need for the people of Zambia to continue searching for an answer to how, things are going to be done in this country. Yeah.
Other stakeholders, in this case, opposition political parties, have described the democratic space in this country as shrinking. Do you share the same views?
Zach, if you would allow me, I would like to share some, details, about what I think about the current political space.
Right.
First of all, if I was to just say in one sentence, I would say that, yes, I agree with them. There is some bad politics that is being, played at the moment.
Okay.
As PAC, we believe that, the UPND are actually engaged in bad politics. And what that means is that they're just playing from what I would call the same African political playbook. The idea of intimidating,
Mm.
the idea of silencing
Mm.
divergent views. You must remember that this that is happening and that has been happening has a history.
Mm.
You know, and the reason why Africa has not developed is because of the same. Because you have to go back. I mean, if we have to find out the reason why we are where we are today, we need to actually. I've been one of the things that I've been doing, where well on leave, was to actually try to find out like what is wrong with us.
Mm.
What is where are we getting it wrong? And in my research, I discover that the current economic structures or political structures that we have actually have been perpetuated over time. What do I mean by that? You must remember that before colonialism, you know, Africa did not have territories.
Mm.
There were no countries per se, and there were no presidents. And before the scramble for Africa, and so people used to live, in different sections of the country and being ruled by a chief. There were small numbers. So when the scramble for Africa happened, Africa was divided, into different territories.
Mm.
You had us in Zambia, being taken over, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Nigeria, Ghana, and a few other countries being taken over by the British. You had, countries like, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Mali, Niger, Guinea and a few other countries, Algeria being taken over by, the French. Then you had, Congo, which was taken over by the Belgians. You had Equatorial Guinea that was taken over by, the Spanish. Then you had, Mozambique and Angola, and Cape Verde that were taken over by the Portuguese. And, and so that's how Africa was divided. Now, what happened was that, when a few Africans started being enlightened and realized that we needed to take over the running of these nations, you find that they started fighting for what they call independence, the struggle for independence. So as a result of the territories that had been created, the independence was not, the way independence was going to happen. It was not going to reverse the issues of territories. It was not going to reverse. If you're being run by a chief, it's not like things will come back to the way they are. So if, for example, Chief Mukuni had his own, he was in that kingdom in Livingstone and surrounding areas, things were not going to return like that. So we were bounded into a country, in that territory. So what that meant was that people now found an opportunity to do what? To be the leaders of that country. And the challenge that we had, and you need to listen to this very carefully.
Right. The
challenge that we had was that a lot of political parties around Africa, were formed based on tribal groupings. So because various enlightened people from various groups, they needed to take up positions, and they needed to have the basic backing of their tribal grouping. And so a lot of political parties were formed before independence, and everyone was just willing to rule their countries, and they were fighting. This kind of cadreism and conflicts in politics were there, and they were caused by that fact, because now people who had been used living under a chief, now they had to live as one in a country, and one person had to be president. Now that person, if he's not coming from your tribe or something, other people had problems with that. That's the reason why we had a lot of conflicts around Africa. So and you must remember that the reason why it's called the struggle for liberation, or the fight for independence, was that the whites, they were not willing to let go of Africa. Are you with me?
Right.
They were not willing to let go of Africa. So what happened was that they were fighting, the nationalist leaders who wanted to, who were fighting for independence. You have a lot of leaders like KK, Nelson Mandela, you talk about Robert Mugabe, all those people had been arrested. Are you with me?
Right.
So you understand that it's, these arrests of, dissent, people who have different opinions started from the colonial times. So they were being arrested. And this is why you have these things like Public Order Act. They come from that time because the whites, they imposed, these things so that, Africans should not actually build that momentum they needed to get what? Independence. So they were being suppressed, in various countries. Now, to cut the long story short, independence came, other people were not happy, that, other people became president. And, in other African countries, conflicts actually started a few days, a few weeks after independence. For example, Patrice Lumumba, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was just a prime minister for 67 days. And then he was removed. And then there was conflict in the Congo. And this is an example that has happened, in a number of, African countries. So Africa, from independence, did not actually sort out the problems that, the whites left. From independence, they started, fighting for power. So the fight for power, the suppression of people that you don't share they don't share the same view with, started from that time. And when, countries got independence, there were very few people that, were educated, and as a result, there has never been time, to sort out the challenges that, we have inherited from that time. And from before independence, the idea has been dependent on aid and, giving companies to foreigners, just like the way it was, before independence, and it has continued up to now. So fast forward, African politicians have have continued to adopt that so that they can strengthen their hold to power. So they actually, they try to arrest people, with, different views. They try to weaken political parties that they consider to be strong. Just like, the colonialists, they used to actually try and, support political parties, when when their thing, when the nationalists were fighting and independence was imminent, they used to support certain political parties that they felt like, okay, if we put this one, as president or as prime minister, this one is going to work with us. For example, in Zimbabwe, I think if I'm not mistaken, the first prime minister of Zimbabwe was Abel Mozowera or something like that, who was a friendly force, to the whites. And Mugabe and Joshua Nkomo, they refused that. No, we don't want this one to be our prime minister. He is a sellout. You understand? So now this is, I hope you're getting the point here. So this is this playbook of, trying to weaken people and, place people, that you feel that, these ones are your friendly forces. You can work with them. You can use them, has been there for some time. So this is why, the reason why I'm saying this is that we if we continue with the same, attitude, that we inherited from the, colonialists, before independence and after independence, and we continue, the arrest of opposition political parties, political party leaders, opposition leaders, we continue weakening other political parties, you find that, we should forget about development, because African leaders have been focusing 80% of their time thinking about how to hold power than how to solve problems that, their countries face. Now, you must remember that, holding on to power has not worked for anyone. That's another lesson that we need to learn. Holding on to power has not worked for anyone. In this country, we have an example of the PF themselves, who actually, closed, one of the most critical voices at that time, called the Post newspapers. But that did not help them to actually hold on to power, did it? It did not. So what will guarantee any leader, to be in office is to sort out the problems, that people are facing, whether it's unemployment, it is, creating a proper business environment, ensuring that farmers have got inputs on time, and, initiatives right now. Today is what? Today is the 7th. we don't have power. I mean, we don't have not we don't have power. Sorry, we didn't have power last night, so I think it's a hangover. We don't have rains, but we cannot see initiatives to say, what, next year it's going to be bad, because already this year there's no maize on the ground. And today, the 7th of December, we don't have rains. So what initiatives are being put in place to avert, to stop hunger from happening in this year? So those are the programs that the country, leaders, should focus on, as opposed to politics. So when you told me earlier to say that, the political environment, almost everyone thinks that, it's like an election year, it's because, that is what we do as Africa, that's what we've been doing from independence.
We politicize
everything.
Every time.
All been focusing on politics. This is what we inherited from colonialism. We just inherited fights, politics, politicizing. Next year, if we're not careful, there'll be serious hunger in our country, because there's no rain and there's not enough maize. There's no, as we speak today, there's no enough maize stock and there's no rain. So we are at a stage where we're in danger as a country.
What would you do as PAC, given the situation like this? Because this government is very confident, based on the policies they've put in place about eradicating poverty, by obviously increasing the price of maize in terms of a 50 kg bag, which obviously it is attractive, and it is from that attraction that they feel that it will actually make more people to cultivate it, because now it's got good return. And then we happen that we will end up having a drought, and they would not achieve what they planned to achieve. Circumstances obviously presented by nature. Yourself, what would be your immediate reaction to a situation had you been in government today?
First of all, there's no point in increasing the price of maize when the product is not going to be available on the market, because already, in as much as the price was increased, there was not much, to give away.
Obviously, it was in anticipation that they will have good rains.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
But
so but in this case, it's another crisis. It's another crisis. What do you do?
So yeah, but we have to talk about, we have to come back, briefly.
Yeah.
Just go reverse before the contention.
Right. Right.
So yeah, like I was saying, there's no point in increasing the price of maize, if the commodity won't be available. I think what's important is to actually deal with the fundamentals, that makes, this product to be available. First of all, like we've, said, there's going to be drought. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think what I would do if I was president, which, first of all, I mean, I would commend the government for increasing the CDF, which, I mean, budget was already passed. I think would be to actually, channel almost all the money towards irrigation, so that, farmers, people, to set up, these farming communities, to do irrigation, going into next year. Then probably, the rains will be there, but we don't know how much of the rains. We don't know whether there'll be enough rains, that, will be able to help us, recover, because by now, ideally, we should have grown. I mean, maize, I know in certain parts of the country, there's, rains that is happening here and there, but in majority part of the country, it's still a dry spell. So there's a high chance that we will not get enough, yield from the rain season, So we need to prepare for winter maize. And the best way for me, the fact that, as a country we are broke, we don't have money, is to use the CDF. Hold on, to all these fancy projects, that are happening, through the CDF, and focus on having something for people to eat. You get the point? And the only way to do that is to build structures that would help to put in irrigation systems, across these constituencies, especially the rural constituencies. I would also channel money that has been allocated for CDF to, urban areas like Lusaka Central, of course, I mean, people in Lusaka Central come fighting, say, no, but we need street lights. We need street lights. What are you talking about? We need security. What are you talking about? Security is also important. But I mean, we need to be realistic. I mean, people ask. I mean, I live in Lusaka Central, by the way, and as people in Lusaka Central, realistically speaking, we can actually donate 100 kwachas, to do with certain things. We have neighborhood watches and stuff like that. But the biggest issue actually is the issue of hunger. So what I would do is I would get the money from urban constituencies, and put it back, into the rural areas and heavily invest, put in structures. Now, the challenge that we have is that, when a lot of money, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked, I mean, CDF is almost about $200 million, a year as a budget. Now, when you're going to invest, $200 million, in a huge project, like, alleviation of hunger, ensuring that you put irrigation systems, a lot of corruption comes in. People want to benefit, from that, and the objectives are not met. So there has to be a lot of tightening of the systems to ensure that the objectives are met. Budgets are strict, So that is what, if I was in government, I would do, because I need to think ahead. I don't need to actually, start, thinking, what do they call that? I don't need to react, I need to
be proactive.
Proactive. You get the point.
Yeah.
I don't need to react. Say, oh, there's no maize. Okay, what are we going to do? Okay, let's just raise the price of maize to about 400 kwacha. But you're raising the price, of maize when the commodity is not there. So the fundamental is to ensure that the commodity is there. And when you invest that 200 million, in these farming, communities across, Zambia, if you put these irrigation systems, you're not just sorting out a problem for one season. You're sorting out a problem for the foreseeable future. And probably not just maize. Once the people finish doing winter maize, they can do tomatoes, they can do cabbages, they can do this and this and that. So you would be actually investing your money into something, that is going to sort out a lot of problems.
Will it be necessary
in the long term,
to go into the CDF when people have been talking about how we can make ZNS, for example, the army, for example, as production hubs where they can engage, because they are well mechanized in terms of equipment. They can produce a lot for consumption as a country, and you let the farmers and peasants farmers produce for sale, for example.
Zach, one thing I can tell you is that historically, like I was telling you, after, remember that before, and today we're going to, it's like a history class.
Right.
And we're focusing on the effects of colonialism, in our current structures, because we need to understand, first of all, there were farms, that were there before independence. There were other companies that were there before independence. Across Africa, in a lot of African countries, there were big farms that were producing a whole lot of various commodities.
Right.
When African leaders got independence, most of them, they nationalized those farms, farms that were actually doing better, through, their socialist policies that they were, pushing for. They nationalized a lot of those funds, and they ran down those funds. So the idea, it's good to actually, equip, ZNS, and, strengthen them, to be able to, contribute. But the ultimate idea is to make sure that the farmer is producing. The individual farmer must be able to produce, because when you spread your risk, among a lot of, people, you are sorting out the problem. But if you're going to put all your input into one person, then there's nothing that you're doing. I heard an argument by one of the, prominent Zambians, who was saying that actually we should stop, giving CDF, farming inputs to FISIP to, to the peasant farmers, and get that money and give it to the commercial farmers, because the commercial farmer is able to produce more compared to a peasant farmer. His argument was that a commercial farmer produces about 10 tons of maize per hectare compared to 1.7 tons, on a peasant farmer. But the question is that, so if you're going to take away FISIP from the, peasant farmer, and then tomorrow the commercial farmer says, maize is not profitable, what happens in the future? So the idea is to make sure that everyone is productive. I mean, equip the right equipment, train them so that, from the 1.7 tons that they're producing, they should move to maybe 5 tons. That's already a win for the country. So in the same vein, like you were asking about ZNS, the issue of ZNS mini meal, those things are not sustainable. Those are things that, have been used, in African politics, which have never worked. What is important is to have a thriving private sector, whether in the farming, industry or anywhere, that is working. What's important is to ensure that, the farmers are producing. Individual farmers are working. Every citizen must be involved in the production of various, goods, for the country. We should not, incapacitate, citizens from participating, in the production, of a country, in the production of goods or services in a country. They must be part of the process, and that's what makes them happy. I mean, you can't just keep people. In fact, this person was saying that we should just be giving them a social cash transfer. So what's the idea? They should just be sitting at home and doing nothing and just waiting for social cash transfer. Things don't work like that. So ZNS is a good idea, but let's capacitate as many individual farmers as possible, as many peasant farmers as possible. Let's come up with a program. These things are not difficult. Let's create systems in these rural areas. Let's change the way things are. There's technology nowadays. Technology can help, in sorting out a lot of these problems. There's a lot of things that we can do that can help us.
Let's move to the fact that, I asked about the democratic space, how it is like, and let's, I mean, we can't just have this conversation without talking about the Patriotic Front and their difficulties and the wrangles, because these wrangles that we are witnessing have come with a lot of talk around what has caused them to be where they are today. And I think that the big accusation is that the government the party in government is playing a role, and that you can see because of the amount of protection the member of one of the factions has been given of the Patriotic Front. And recently, just yesterday, we heard that one of the faction has decided to expel members of parliament of the Patriotic Front. I don't know what you think about this. Did you see this coming?
I saw it coming. The moment that conversion happened, I saw expulsions.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, even for me, I'm alleging that the government is involved.
Why are you alleging?
That's my allegations.
What makes you think the government is involved?
And just like I told you earlier, Zach, or we were discussing, the UPND government is playing bad politics. And you see, the worry for me is not about what happens in the PF. I mean, I don't really care about the PF, to be honest.
Is it about the same would happen to you?
It's not that, actually. Maybe, yeah, on one way. But it's
because that's what the other opposition leaders are saying.
Yes. That would
we may play a blind eye to what is happening in the Patriotic Front, but this may hit us as well.
For me, the PF internal problems, I mean, they are not my concern.
Yeah.
Of course, let's just accept it that there's been a lot of confusion. No, this one is not supposed to be SG. This one is supposed to be SG. This one is because he was appointed by a person who is acting president. There's been a whole lot of this confusion, and that is not a problem. It's their personal issues. Internal issues that they can deal with.
Right.
Now, we draw the line, Zach, I think if I was told to go to court today, I think you would be a witness to say that I've campaigned against PF. You know that,
right?
Well. Yes. So the reason why I'm saying that is that I want people to understand that I'm speaking from a neutral point of view.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if you remember very well, the reason why I'm saying that, the government is involved, is because there is a strong suspicion that, the PF, I mean, the government, worked, with this faction, the Mansa faction to actually, make things happen. Now, for me, I was okay. I mean, I'll tell you that I was shocked, like 18 hours on 24th Tuesday. I think that was a Tuesday, 24th October. I'm like, so there was a PF convention and the Mouse has won and what? Okay. And I was like, okay, let's watch. I mean, and then there was this, hey, no, what? I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't care about what the Constitution says. Maybe it's got a right, to stand or not. But what gave me a lot of concern was when I saw the form that was submitted to the Registrar of Societies. The form that had the new office bearers.
Right.
First of all, I've been involved in the process of registering a political party and probably, changing office bearers.
Right.
The process to change office bearers is the same process as to actually, register a political party.
Okay.
Because, I mean, of course, the changing of office bearers is a bit less, but it can take place in a day. You get the point, eh?
Right.
Now, when I saw that form that was submitted to the Registrar of Society, I saw all the stamps dated 25th October 2023. Now, that's not possible. It shows, that there was a fast forward, arrangement to make this thing happen.
What makes you think that it can be done in a day?
It can be done because, first of all, the office bearers, need to be cleared by the police, fingerprints and whatnot.
Right.
They need to be interviewed individually by the police.
What makes you think it wasn't done quietly?
No, why?
In
24 hours. No, you can't do that because people were voted in. Were they not voted in?
Yeah.
So everyone was actually validated after the convention on the 24th. So there was no way you could do it before. It can only happen.
You can't do it on candidates? No? Before the first elections?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Why would you waste the police time, to say we have 100 candidates. We have 50, possible office bearers. We want you to vet them before. If the police were to do that, you get the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you want to waste So now, apart from that, the office bearers must give, they must actually give the Registrar of Society referrals. So if I'm part of the office bearers, I'll say, okay, my brother Zakaria Banda, is my referral. You can interview him as well. There has to be that process of interviewing. Of actually checking, interviewing some referrals. Do you understand the process? And this is so apart from interviewing the office bearers, there has to be a process of interviewing the referrals. They can pick all of them, they can pick 5, but I'm sure they cannot pick not less than 5 of the referrals, just to make sure that, security checks.
Right.
The OP is involved, in vetting, the office bearers.
Okay.
You get the point?
Yeah.
So if you look at, the interviews of the office bearers, the interviews of the referrals, the OPs is check, the fingerprints, the Lusaka City Council also has a role to play. If you look at all these offices, for them to be able to actually do this thing within a day, it was practically impossible. And that is where we saw that,
That's what my suspicion is.
My suspicion is, and a lot of things started happening fast forward, recognizing of the new leader of opposition, and all that kind of thing, parliament and whatnot. And it's not just that, obviously, there's history, to how these things happen. What's a history? The history is that,
And take us through, before you get to history, take us through the process of now all the venting has been done, right?
Yeah.
On the people taken over as new office bearers. What is the transition like from the old to the new? What's the process from the old office bearers to the new office bearers? Is there a situation that has to happen? What happens?
Sorry?
In terms of putting in new office bearers.
Yeah.
When you had the old, okay, so now you are replacing the old with the new.
Yeah.
The transition. What is that a process as well?
It has to be the same process, in my own understanding, and that's what I know. It has to be the same process that you used, because people have to be vetted individually. They have to be cleared by the police. And
I know that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it has to be the same process. So I mean, if I just give
And
you
at
one
the
example,
registrar?
and I can tell you that the
Because
police,
now once all the
police cannot
security check
give,
is done,
the police cannot give fingerprints in a day. It can't happen. The police, need to interview the office bearers. Obviously, it can take 2-3 hours. It can happen on the 25th. Then there has to be, these random checks. They don't check like,
it's not within an hour.
it's not. They don't check like, let's just check them fast. They check, it's security checks. Like they're investigating. Like who are these people who want to register a political party? Are they, being sponsored by, mercenaries or terrorists or something?
Right.
It is good for the country. And this is the process.
Yeah.
So when you see these things start happening quickly, people are recognized in parliament, so fast, and you see the state newspapers, they start flashing headlines of this faction, you're like, okay,
So that's where your suspicion is.
Now, this is what I'm saying. It's the African political playbook. This is what has happened, in African politics, and this is coming from the colonial structures, of trying to, push certain groups that you feel like they're friendly to you, and then those groups are validated by the state media. Those groups are cleared by arms of government, So for me, it is an issue of worry because, when, people that have been given the instruments of power, start using them to actually, settle, political scores, it is an issue that should not worry me alone, should not worry political party leaders, but should worry the people of Zambia. Every Zambian must be worried, when those that are in power start using, political instruments. Like I mentioned, the internal wrangles of the PF are not my concern. My worry is when I suspect as a citizen that, the government is playing games here, and they're using, instruments of power, which they are not allowed to use in this manner. And they're using them to actually, suppress, other people, to create confusion. I mean, what's the benefit?
So if you suspect, well, as you suspect, the government is playing a hand in this because things are moving so fast. I mean, now there's is it expulsion of members of parliament?
So you've seen that now,
and because this faction is the one that has been recognized even at parliament level, it simply means that we are headed for these by-elections, no?
There's a chance, because people want numbers in
it's
parliament.
Expensive. It's a responsibility on
the part of the government. Yes,
as a country.
No, not as a country. We are not involved in this.
No, because money, taxpayers' money will be used.
Let's not
on
put
this.
ourselves there. It's a responsibility of those that are in government. Let's not be diplomatic.
But this is taxpayers' money.
Yes. So
and every Zambian
out
there has a right to say we can't be spending.
But it's not our
taxpayers' money like
it's
this.
not us who are irresponsible. It's the people that we have put in government that are being irresponsible.
Okay.
You get the point? And this is where people of Zambia, the citizens, like, abantu to become government, but by irresponsible. How can they be doing things like this? I mean, imagine having 10 by-elections. Those people have got power. I mean, the people that are expelling these people, they've got power. And we are, calling for 10 by-elections. These are things that, all of us, when we're in the position, including President HH, promised to say that, when we come into power, there will not be by-elections. This is a necessary, money.
I remember the president
yes,
loudly saying that.
Yes, this is money that's unnecessary. Spending unnecessary money, from the government coffers. But you see,
but he can't stop this because this is a different political party that is undergoing these problems, and they are a particular political party.
He has not said anything about it,
and he can't stop this.
He can't, because it's for the benefit of his political party. So now the point is that this is what I was telling you earlier. We the UPND are playing bad politics. It's from the same political playbook, the African political playbook. When people are in power, they don't care, about certain things like wastage of resources, suppressing of people's voices. In certain countries, even, executions, in other countries, these things that happen. People executed, people die of hunger, like in Ethiopia in 1983, 84, 85, there was hunger, in Ethiopia, and there was this dictator who is what's his name, Haram or something like that, who is in exile in Zimbabwe, who didn't care. So when people have got power, they don't care about certain things, and this is the attitude that we need to change. And this is, the UPND should not be in overdrive to play these bad politics. And you see, let's look at the Kabushi and Kwacha elections. All those elections, there was suspicion of meddling, but forcing the ECZ to actually conduct elections, under unclear circumstances. So we are not talking about an issue that just happened, but we're like, these guys, look at what happened here. Oh, and then there's the arrest of opposition, and then there's this issue where it shows that they're playing games with the this group, this society, this society which is independent, which has got a citizens that are part of that society, the PF. So when you start adding up these things, and someone was like, they've just done this and that and that. I'm like, that's how they start. They start slowly, and then they go on full scale with time. And this is where leadership is a challenge, because leadership has got nothing to do with education. Because if leadership had education, people like Mbingo Mtarika would have done better in Malawi, because he was a professor in the US. Leadership has got nothing to do with, you're a talented footballer, because if you're a talented footballer, George Weah would have been president again, but he lost. So leadership has got nothing to do with whether you put money, because if you had money, Cyril Ramaphosa would have been doing better in South Africa. So there is, a certain kind of leadership that we need, to make progress. If we are going to continue, to play the politics, we're not going to progress as a country. And this is a danger, to our progress as a country. When we start seeing that those people that are in power, they start playing politics, they start, demonstrating that you're meddling with operations of, of government institutions, firing people because, those people, maybe they're not, agreeing with them. We've seen a lot of people being fired because, they are perceived not to be supporting, those that are in power on principle, like, the past registrar of societies, Madam Hede, so all those things, Madam Tandiwe Piri Muhede, isn't it? Yeah. So all those things, are red flags, or should you call them yellow?
If that is the case, would you say they were doing things the careless way?
Who's that?
I mean, if it's the UPND government that and you, as you are saying, you suspect they are playing a hand in all this, would you say they are not smart enough? Because you shouldn't easily be bringing out these things that are being done, because that's some sort of.
But you see, the issue is that we have history. You get the point. And when we talk about history, we're not talking about the PF's history. We're not talking about the MMD's history. We're not talking about just the UNIP's history. We have history from Zambia, from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Angola, from everywhere that we should learn from. And it is the reason why some of us are here, because we're enlightened about political history of Africa. And no one can cheat us to say that, bring evidence. Are they going to show you evidence? They know we're actually getting involved in this. That's not there. It's like people when they're making deals in government, and that there are deals that are being made. You're not going to start telling them, bring evidence. You remember in the PF they said, oh, if you suspect there's corruption, you should go to the Anti-Corruption Commission if you want. When they knew that actually when you go there, nothing's going to happen. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's the same African political playbook. It's not about whether they're smart or not. It's just the kind of politics they believe is going to work for them. But like I said, it doesn't work. It does not work. We are living in times where information is on people's fingertips. These politics that they are playing were played after before independence, after independence, when a few people were educated, when people could not communicate properly. Information used to take 1 week for information to get to the rest of the country, or even more days. But today, in 10 minutes, if there's breaking news, and sorry, Zach, actually I meant to say that we should have started by paying respect to the people that are trapped in Chingola, and may the souls of those that have departed rest in peace. But the point I'm trying to drive is that if that ditch was opened, and to say that, oh, it has been opened and we found these people, that information is going to be transmitted within seconds. Do you understand? So what the current political leadership really needs to understand that things have changed. That is, it's not about whether they're down or not. It's about which book should we play from.
So are you disappointed with how the Hakainde Hichilema government is doing things, both politically, economically as well?
Yes. First of all, we went on leave and we said, you know what, there's a lot of high expectations. If you look at my posts, there were a lot of praise, for the government, and, certain steps they were putting in place. They came up with ministries like, small and medium enterprise.
Yeah.
I had a lot of hope in that ministry, now we are going to revolutionize, small businesses.
Right.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, for me, small businesses are the anchor of the economy. They just need to be nurtured nicely, and then this economy will be on another level. You get the point?
Right.
So when that ministry was formed, I had a lot of hopes, like, in the next 2 years, I think this country will be on a different level, because this is the right thing that the president has done. Okay. There was a few other things that were pronounced, in terms of the level of politics was going to be raised. I was happy because I knew that, wow, this is the environment that I've been waiting for. Because for some of us, our focus is ideas. So if politics are going to be raised, it means that we'll be discussing more about ideas than politics. Fast forward 2 years later, not much. We seem to be doing the same things, and the fact that things are not moving at the pace that they want, now they are directing a lot of their energy on politics. And that's and this is what I was saying. We have history to learn from. When certain governments start seeing that the economic policies are not being felt by the people, they go back to politics now, because they're worried about 2026 is around the corner. The economy is not working.
So is this the case of this government has not delivered, and now it's insecure of getting another vote, so they have to begin playing politics?
Obviously, they will justify that, in their inner circles, they will justify that we have to play politics. Of course,
because I believe that if you deliver, people appreciate through a vote.
That's it. If you don't deliver, people they will show you at the ballot. So what's the best way, to deal with this? Is, if you're not delivering, the best way is to do what? Is to go and vote out. Is to go and play politics. To suppress voices, to intimidate, to scare people from talking, arrest people.
So do you think this UPND government hasn't delivered, and this is why they are playing politics?
They have not delivered. They're saying that they only deliver when the debt restructuring is going to be worked on. And the debt restructuring hasn't happened. And we're waiting. See that, there's also a problem with that. And maybe we can discuss about the debt issue, because remember that China's, done a U-turn, on their hands. So I see a big problem on that. So a lot of the UPND supporters, they say, no, because these people, the PF, they left us in debt. So once we sort out this debt issue, the restructured debt, what, then things will start moving. So now the debt is over 2 years now. It has not been sorted. So what if the debt prolongs? What if, China says, you know what, we're not interested, until these people, they also take some losses on these debts. What are we going to do as a country? So They don't have all the time. Let's just be realistic. They don't have all the time in the world, so maybe what they feel should be done right now is to actually start playing politics. Who is the strongest opposition? Oh, it's the PF. They look like they're strong. They've got members of parliament. Let's start suppressing them. Okay, what do we need to do? So a whole lot of things like that.
It would be harsh of you to conclusively say this government has not delivered when they have. You just spoke about the increased CDF. You spoke about.
Okay, do you want me to be fair to them?
They have talked about free education. It's visible about teacher employment in as far as the high numbers.
No,
of
but let's just be
employment,
realistic.
health and teachers.
let's.
Investors have confidence now. You can see that they are coming up and mines are coming back to life, for example. I mean, you must be fair enough and say, yes, this government to some extent has delivered. It will be unfair of you to think that this government has not delivered at all.
What I said was that the economy is all moving at a pace that is impacting on a lot of people. So meaning that if you're in class and the teacher tells you that your pass rate is 40%, a lower grade, and you get 39%, does it mean that you've gotten some things right or not? What does that mean?
Yeah, of course.
You've gotten some right.
Not some right.
But you've gotten some things right, but it's still failed, isn't it? Yeah.
Below average.
Below average.
Right.
That's a point. There's a lot of expectations from the government. So we are not saying that they have not gotten 39% or 29%.
Right.
Or 41% to be fair. They would say, no, we have removed cadres, we have increased CDF. Okay, let's give them 45%. Because I can't remember now.
And in 2 years, it's good enough, no? A government in 2 years, it's good enough.
So
if halfway,
there's a lot of things.
Scored 39 or 40% halfway. I mean, you expect that at the end of the...
No, it's an example. Okay. I'm not saying it's what I'm giving them.
Okay, right.
You get the point.
Great.
All I'm just saying that there is a lot of work to be done. Let's just tell them to their face, Zach. I know a lot of people like to praise them, to tell them they're doing well, what. But if I was to tell them what I told them in 2016, in 2021, when they won elections, I said they have a lot of work. There's no time for complacency. And even up to now, there's no time for complacency because the economy is not moving at the pace that's supposed to be moving. The kwacha is depreciating. At a fast pace.
But all these, it's given circumstances. We are in a global village, and this president has said several times.
No, but you see,
confusion somewhere is confusion everywhere.
No, but you see, there are other countries,
and it's been very difficult for this government because at the time, I think that's when the war in Ukraine was starting, and now they've got the Israeli
so
war.
The Israel war is the one that's causing.
It's basically the fact that we live in a global village, that these things
okay. Before we go to the global village,
everyone at some point. Yeah.
Before we go to the global village,
right?
Have we sorted out our fundamentals in this country?
Which are?
First of all, it's 2 years now. KCM is not yet, in the hands of the new investors.
I think you know that it's almost done.
No. Remember that, it's a verbal agreement. We don't even know the details of that agreement. The allegation
I think it's finally been signed now, yeah.
Okay, we don't have, the people of Zambia don't have
the
copy,
agreement.
The agreement, you know. And that's one other thing, they promised transparency, so what we would appreciate is a copy, given to the people of Zambia so that the people of Zambia can peruse that agreement. Then we have, of course, last week, there was an announcement that there's a new investor in Mopani.
Yeah.
I tried to search for that investor. I can't find that investor. I can't find information on that investor. I can tell you that, there's no website of that investor. We don't even have that information. When the government is choosing an investor, we shouldn't just get excited that Dubai, the investor is coming from Dubai and stuff like that. People go, they can just get on a flight, you go and register a company in Dubai and you come back and you start bidding and you say, no, our headquarters in Dubai. We are renting a 1 or 2 rooms in Dubai. And then you come and get a big mine, which is worth billions of dollars, in Mopani, So that also we would expect the government to actually give more details, on that investor so that we can do our own vetting. I personally, I've searched for that investor. You know, I've not found information about that particular company, that is, getting. I mean, I can challenge anyone to check if, I mean, if you have a website, that company, you should actually give us, and these are red flags as well, about the kind of investors that we're bringing. I mean, what's their experience in the mining sector? What is their capital base? Are we just postponing problems, for another 2 years, or we are actually finding a lasting solution, to the problems at Mopani, so there's a lot of work, Zach. I mean, we cannot actually say that the UPND government has delivered, in all fairness, because a lot of young people don't have jobs. The economy is not doing well. The businesses are struggling. We cannot tell them. Actually, we should tell them that they have not delivered, so that they can work hard, so that they can deliver for the people of Zambia. We cannot miss our words to make them happy, just to be in good books with them. No, this is for the country. If they want, they can consult us and to, on areas we feel they have, low hanging fruits where they can, change things. Have we have all these things, immigration issues. We have a lot of people that are taking away businesses, from the Zambians, and these are the people that are taking away dollars. We are always looking for difficult solutions. Like, mining. Let's have the mining sector working, but also let's sort out, certain solutions. For example, how many people are taking away dollars, in the name of investors? They're selling cars along Kafio Road, and they're called investors. Do you know where those people are taking that money? They're taking it back to their countries. How is that money going to their countries? Is it going in, in kwacha? It's going in dollars, and that's the reason why the kwacha is weak, because we have a whole lot of these briefcase businessmen that are coming to the country, taking out the dollars. Those are the fundamentals that we're talking about. So let's not just run around the whole continent, the whole world, looking for solutions, when some or most of the solutions are actually in country. What programs outside mining are we putting in place to ensure that we start exporting, to certain goods, and services? I mean, what policies have we given them, Zambia Association of Manufacturers, to make sure that they increase their production and we start exporting? So we need to work on a whole lot of fundamentals. Twitter, press statements, speeches will not change the country. There has to be work. There has to be programs, and those programs must not just be, in the corridors of government, house, or or in the corridors of State House. Those programs must be known by the people of Zambia, so that the people of Zambia should participate and should actually be of the production. That's what we're saying. So, to the UPND government, like I said before, it's not like we hate them. Like we for me, I wouldn't mind, President HH winning in 2026, as long as he has delivered, as long as he's built a strong foundation for this country. I can actually maybe step aside and say, let him continue. I will do 2031, because this person is on the right track. So we want them to work. We want them to deliver. We want them to demonstrate that they're committed. We want them to put aside these politics that they're getting involved into. They should remember that, the people.
It's probably the best way to put them aside.
They should be.
What they are doing is the best way to put those who are making noise aside.
No. I mean, no one is making noise. Work is going to make noise for you. Work is going to make noise for you. I mean, look at the CDF. They're posting things and people are like appreciating. I don't think there's any person who does not appreciate the CDF. I mean, a lot of people are appreciating that, the impact that it's having in the rural communities. It's a good program. But the point is that, there is a lot of work. It's not even about cadarism. It's not about free education, which many people are saying, okay, free education, fine. But you look at, how, our money is being chewed through the high cost of living.
It's much as you would want them to concentrate on work. Okay. They also need a break. Much as you may want to work hard, and there you are making all the noise, and
I'm making noise.
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, the head of state has been on several occasions said it. Like we've seen they've started regrouping. Okay, they shouldn't take our concentration on work and being quiet on their side for a weakness, or else We'll come back and
are they regrouping illegally, or they've got legal rights to regroup?
well, the regrouping is also, you regroup and issue very disturbing statements while your friend is working. Sometimes it becomes very disturbing, and
so you rebuff those statements with the truth, so that if they're saying that you're not working, for example, the way I'm saying they've not delivered, I should not find the police downstairs. They should actually just issue a statement and say, we have worked. Tell that guy who was on radio to say that these are the things we've achieved. Simple. Why should you start arresting people? Why should you start intimidating people? So as long as people are regrouping legally, as long as they're not breaking the law, then there's no problem with that. Of course, politics is part of but you see, when you're in government, your politics is the way to rebuff critics is delivering. That's unfortunately the way it works for a political party in power. So if I'm going to say that there's nothing they've done in the copper belt, look at what has happened in the mining. With the young people that have been trapped. They should say, but actually, we are in the process. This is what we have done to these slab dams, dams in these other areas. So we were on the way to Chingola, but we were starting with the Mufurira, or we were starting with Kitwe, or Chirabombwe, or any other place, or Rwansha, or something like that. That's how you rebuff this. You can't rebuff this by silencing my voice, because you can silence my voice like the PF did to the Post. Then the news diggers came on board, and then other players came on board. Social media came on board, and then in the end, you can't silence anyone anymore. So the point is that every person who is interested in the progress of Zambia, must be able to tell the government the truth, and it is. It's good for the government to work. I mean, let's not act like this is post-colonialism, where there was a one-party state in all these countries, and those that were in power, they expected every person in the country to be clapping for them, to be lining up for them on the streets, when they're coming from the airports, women to be dancing for them at the airports, and the youth. I mean, they created groups called Mayus, who used to crush all people who were opposing. But where did that take them? They didn't go anywhere. So what is important is that for any person who's aspiring to be a leader of this country, they must know that they are doing the work for the people of this country. They're not doing it for themselves. And they should know that, with time, they're going to go. So what kind of legacy do they want to leave behind? That's what we need to work for.
My guest today on the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue is Andyford Mayele Banda. He is People's Alliance for Change president. And we've discussed quite a number of our issues, and I will be taking your calls and your messages as well. So remember, you can send your messages to my line, and this line is 0761 912493. That's strictly for your messages, either SMSs or indeed your WhatsApp messages. 0761 912493. For your phone calls, it's 0955. That's 0955 221515. That's 0955 22 15 15. Let's take the first call. Good morning.
Good morning, Zach.
How are you today?
I'm very fine. How is Lusaka?
Lusaka is very good, and well, thank you very much for asking. And how is where you are? Where are you calling us from, and your names are?
Kampumba. Brother Namanda on the line.
Brother Namanda, you've got 1 minute. Please make your case.
Wonderful. Banda Mauka.
Bwira Mauka Bwanji.
Auka. In Zambia, it is very saddening to learn that opposition political leaders want to gang up against one individual in the name of President HH, just out of bitterness and hatred, without any alternative whatsoever. The economic challenges of this country, which was borrowed from the previous government, created deliberately because of pettiness. Today, someone, Mayele Banda, can talk of shrinking of democracy. When you are aware how we were oppressed and squeezed before the 2021 general election, no one was allowed to have a rally. No one was allowed to campaign. Opposition political leaders were being tear-gassed day in, day out. Citizens were killed, crowded, without any sense of shame. And today it is surprising to note that the same people who were they are the ones who are on the ant-hill crying the loudest as if they are holy angels, painting others black. That is tantamount to
your minute is
very unacceptable.
your 1 minute
In
is up,
conclusion-
Brother Amanda.
In conclusion, Zakaria Banda, the government of UND has done more than what PF did in 10 years. They never employed more than 60,000 civil servants, partial withdrawal, free education, CDF, to mention but a few.
Thank you.
Accusing UPND of destroying PF is a shame.
Thank you,
Because
Brother
that is
Amanda.
why we are feeling better.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. 0955-221515. I'll give you a message. This one says, well spoken. The only remedy to all these wrangles in our country is to come up with the presidential rota. This will kill all tribal remarks, cadarism, and killings. This is from Vash Su in Kabwe, but I would probably have loved to understand what you mean by a presidential rota, but we'll read it as is. 0955-221515 is the number you're calling us on. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, Zach.
Morning. How are you today?
Mr. Banda, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Nkoa, I think me I will not agree with you. UPND, it has brought hunger and destroyed PF. That's the only thing we have done. Thank you.
Okay, but before you go, Mr. Nkua, well, I wanted to know who he doesn't agree with.
Or maybe he doesn't agree with the previous caller.
The previous caller, maybe. All right. Brother Nkua, thank you for calling, and we appreciate. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. And how are you?
I'm okay. You're talking to Local Voice on the line.
Local Voice on the line.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Sit Banda Mayele. Is it? How are you?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, the Banda. It's long. You're now resurrecting, huh?
Yeah, I was dead.
Okay.
Now I'm up.
Now you see, you are disappointing me, huh?
Why?
You know why you are disappointing me?
Mm.
I didn't expect a youth president like you running a political party. You want to join the bad wagon of the opposition, standing up, thinking to dislodge or to propagate the UPND policies, the UPND governance, okay, the UPND development programs. You are supposed to be forefront, educating the masses to understand why are the things moving slow in the manner they are moving. Is there a reason? If I ask you, Mayele Banda, where you are in that studio, isn't it? You look at that studio the way it is. I come up to the grater there and demolish that studio where you are, Mayele Banda. Within 5 minutes, done. Are you telling me that you are going to build that studio where you are in 5 minutes? Are you? So let us understand this thing. We used to pay for education, okay? This time is the free education from grade 1 to university. To the grade 2. You argued. The people argued, no, where is it going to find the money? No, where? But see what you've done. You don't appreciate that. For you, it's nothing. Today, we are talking now. You have got employed teachers, more than 6,000 teachers. It never used to happen. In newspaper, you go and read. Your name is there. What's happening? You are forgetting. Peace in the market, peace everywhere. You put on your shed. It's happening. Did you see that? So you're supposed to encourage the UPND, encourage the organization to push more so that we develop this country together with you. But you're now moving away. You are going with that body wagon, the opposition. That's correct. Anyway, so let us be realistic. Let us bring politics of of development, not growth of faith.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Bukolo
you.
Voice. Thank you very much for that. It looks like you are being implored to actually educate the masses out there of what this government is doing. Let me take one more call on 0955 221515. Good morning,
Good morning, Zaki.
Dr. Proud. How are you today?
Rand for the Mwagabwa.
Moshe Bwanji, boss.
For example, I want to concur with our president, Hakainde Hichilema, including the Kuru Voice and Namanda. You opposition were grouped for nothing. This opposition is exactly they are the one who said a person who come from southern province who never rule. And now ashamed themselves.
What's the name?
A person who come
Proud.
in southern is ruling us.
Mm.
The people are there. Others are being jailed. Talking a hate speech. It is there. So you, Andyford, Mayele, Banda, you said UPNDs got a hand killing people. Who eat money for nomination fee? Is it in by church? One thing I'm an nomination fee. People paid the nomination fee 200. I understand Bowman Mutoka Fire Monday paid. You 2 years no election. Sure. Who is it UPND was draining PF not to hold the election 2 years? Talk of sense, Mr. Andyford. Daughter now, I know he has a supporter who voted President HH. You, Balungu is not suffering over. HH, whenever you Matiagas, wherever you go. Killing people, Bagaitanua Jacob police. When call Brad in Sama. During the PF for time, mine, he killed the Jarabo. Right now, that one is arguing. Go to Nigeria, president in 2 months in office. 85 people died in the hand of soldiers who bombed the civilians by mistakenly apologizing. But that is in mind where your children, he never give you any job in the copper belt. Ask Shimbagabwe. Ask you Balungu that you are mind when you close the vendetta, you close the post newspaper, you close the primary. Where do you think people go? Who go in mind die, go and die. So shame on you opposition. Including Balungu and Navagachi. You went when you could train about Mutusayangana.
Thank you. That's getting personal, and I do not by all means allowed to get personal with especially people that cannot defend themselves. Let me give you one more message, then you can respond. What can we do to stop this type of politics? Because I agree with you that every party in power, what they want is to hold on to power than working for the poor people that voted for them. This one is Daddy from Nampundwe. So basically, is asking a question: what is wrong? And he doesn't agree with what the UPN what is happening, because they seem to want to hold on so much to power instead of delivering to us, the people that voted for them. I'll let you respond now.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's funny. Look, first of all, Zach, I want to say that as the People's Alliance for Change, PAC, and its leader, President Andyford Banda, the future president of Zambia, we do not belong to any alliance. As things stand, we are building our structures and our political party on our own. So we don't belong to any alliance. We don't meet any political party leaders. Not that it's a crime to meet, but we don't belong to any alliance. And then just to answer Brother Namanda. First of all, Brother Namanda, I mean, you need to be very honest with yourself. I don't think I've exhibited any, traits of bitterness and hatred. You need to substantiate your claims, when you're talking about such things. I think what we are saying is the truth. And what we want you, the people who support UPND, and some of you who actually, meet your political leaders, to actually tell them the truth. It doesn't help you, to just be praise singing, your leaders when things are not going right in the country. The truth of the matter is that, there's a lot of work to be done, in this time and age of um, our time of our era. I don't know whether I'm repeating the same things, but there's a lot of work to be done in this time. And 60,000 teachers have been employed. There are millions of young people that are languishing out there without any jobs. Just last week or this week, the people that were making makeshift stores, here in Lusaka, their stores were demolished. Not that we support illegality, but all those people need now a source of income. Look at what has happened in Chingola today. We have young people that are dying. And I was watching these videos on movie TV where they were interviewing, a number of people that are there. And the only thing they're saying is that we just want jobs. It's not like we want to do this. What we want is jobs, So, and the story is the same everywhere. Now, the point I'm trying to drive is that you can, stand on top of a mountain or Kilimanjaro, if you like, and tell the whole world about how you have managed to employ 60,000 teachers, for the first time, since independence. But the question that I would ask you is that, have you sorted out the problem of unemployment? So the point I'm trying to tell you is that, when we tell you that, you have not achieved, because the problem of unemployment has not been achieved, there's a lot of work for the UPND to do, that you cannot say that is hatred. I mean, that is, being unfair to yourself, and your, way of, looking at things. We are saying is that, we cannot, stop. You are not going to get into 2026, Brother Namanda, and you go to campaign and tell the people, that, we have employed 60,000. That is not a story that people are going to buy, because there are millions of young people that are looking for jobs. So, yes, like I mentioned before, the issue of employing teachers and help workers, a worker move. Teachers, a move to actually improve, the health services. We look at it as a way to improve, education sector, because there were shortages of teachers. So we've covered that. It's good that, young people can go to school now. They don't have to pay, tuitions, but their parents are dying, because they don't have incomes. Their parents, they have to actually spend a lot of money due to the high cost of living. We need to confront all the truth. We can't just stick to one truth. We can't just stick to one side of the story. We need to confront the story so that we can find a solution. And when we confront both sides of the story, it's not hatred. It is the truth. And you have to deal with the truth. The people in government have to deal with the truth. President HH has to deal with the truth. That is how we're going to find solutions. But if you're going to be in this denial of saying, no, the haters, the opposition have regrouped, and what, or even you, Andyford, Banda now, you've joined these guys, yes, we, no, don't put me in that bubble, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you go back, you come to 5FM, ask 5FM for the recordings of, of my recordings, in between 2016 and 2021, I used to tell the PF the truth. Go to any other radio station and TV station, go and listen. You go to the newspapers like News Diggers West to write, in the papers there. You can go and read that the things that we used to tell the PF are things that, made them fail, to actually win an election. So if you can't deal with the truth, I'm so sorry. That I'm not going to change. We are going to tell you the truth. And the truth is that there is a lot of work to be done in this country. You cannot, it's 2 years. We've been quiet for 2 years because we said, okay, good, 60,000. We're waiting for initiatives to employ more and more and more and more. But, those things are not happening. So we can't just dwell on 60,000. And that can't just be like the achievement of a country. Things are moving fast in this world. We need to work hard. But there's no need for us to have presidential, rotas. To be honest, I mean, I think as a country, Zambia, we know that, like I mentioned, a lot of countries, around Africa, yes, they're still struggling worse, with the issues of tribalism. because of how their setups and their societies are. Others, it's not an issue of tribalism, but it's an issue of religion. You find that, this side of the country, you have Christians, this side you have, Muslims, this side you have traditionalists, and everyone is fighting for for power, you know. But in Zambia, we have reached a point where we don't need to talk about, a rota, or, we don't need to focus on this tribal thing, because you know what? We have demonstrated, that, any person can be a president in this country. you know we look forward to another intelligent person, to actually become from Western province or Northwestern to become a president of this country. And the people of Zambia have demonstrated that they do not have a problem with anyone being a president. We know that some opposition leaders, they used to go to the Northern province, to go and talk about tribalism. What happened in Northern province? The people voted for President HH because people don't care about that. You know, people were going to Eastern Province talking about tribalism. What happened in Eastern Province? People voted for HH because people don't care about that. So the issue of tribalism for us is that we need to now clear it. It is still there, but we need to make sure that we don't, use it in any way, and just clear it so that, any person, whether from the West, the Northwest, the East, from the South, from the North, any person, should be able to say, what, me, I've got a good plan for this country. I can stand as the president, and I'm going to be judged based on the plan that I have, not based on where I come from. So, Bashisu, ya rota, let's forget about it. Mr. Nkua, you said, UPND has brought hunger. Of course, the cost of living has gone up. The exchange rate has depreciated. The fuel prices are quite high. They're almost double what they found them. So, and this is what we are saying, that there's a lot of work. I mean, we can't just go on something that's not helping the country. I think Mr. Lukuru voice. One thing I can tell you is that you cannot use. I think this is one thing, you cannot use PF as a benchmark for your achievement. The people of Zambia are expecting you as UPND people to do more. And when we say, for me it's 2 years. I said 2 years, I'm going to keep quiet, and I'll give the UPND an opportunity to do whatever they need to do. I've come back with, I've observed, but I'm a bit skeptical about the future. And one of the reasons why I'm a bit skeptical is the politics that, the UPND have started engaging themselves into. When a political party in power, and this is what we told the PF, when a political party in power focuses on politics as opposed to the economy, as opposed to reconciliation, when they start, creating confusion, in the political circles, because trust me, what's happening in PF is confusion. Let's just accept, let's call it what it is. It's total confusion. And it's unfortunate that there's strong suspicion that, there's strong allegations that, the government, is working in the background to create that confusion. Now, when a political party in power creates those kinds of confusion, it's a cause for worry for everyone, not just me, even you, Mr. Lukuru voice. You need to be worried, because one day, if we don't check, the political party in power, and we leave them to actually use these powers, irresponsibly, we are all going to be crying. This is where we're going to see cadres coming back in the streets, cadres coming to break cars at, radio stations. I mean, there were incidences here, even here at, 5FM, where one of the political, I think, if, the NDC people at some point, their vehicles were attacked just here at 5FM. So, how we're going to progress as a country is that we need to confront the truth. We cannot dwell on little achievements and say, what, I've achieved. Mr. Proud, I can tell you for a fact that, for starters, that kind of talking, say, no, we are talking that Tonga can never be a president. You should tell that to other people, not to me. Because, first of all, I'm half Tonga, that's one thing. That's what you need to know. Ndi mutonga mebo ndambora chitonga gabotu ndayanki dego jigoro kalomo secondary school. So I don't have any hatred against my half tribe or my half people. Almost half of my my relationships are Tonga and Lenje. In fact, majority of my relationships are Tonga and Lenje. So the things that you're talking about tribalism, when I say it, that's why I say that you should listen to some of us, when we're telling you, maybe you can argue with other opposition, but some of us, we speak from a neutral perspective. Because first of all, when it comes to tribalism, it doesn't make sense to me, because I've got Tonga blood, I've got Lenje blood, I've got Bemba blood, I've got Eastern blood in me. All of these things are in my blood. I've my mother's side, or this side, my mother's side, on her father, it's from Southern. Her mother's side, on her mother, from Wapula. My father's side on the mother is Central. The father's side on the father is from the East. So those things, they don't count to me, because when I go to see my relatives, I speak Tonga. When I go to see these other relatives in Chanyanya, I speak Bemba. You find that a lot of my relatives there, I go in that territory, they're speaking Bemba. I go to the Eastern province, I go and speak Cheo. So those things for me, they don't count, and don't bring those things to me again. Daddy from Nampundwe, what can we do to stop this kind of politics and ensure that we have politics that concentrate on poor people? Just like I mentioned earlier, the politicians of today, they want to start, they like to go back, playing the old politics. They're playing from the playbook of the freedom fighters. And we need to understand that, I know that we love our freedom fighters, especially the leaders, but we have a lot of cases of the same freedom fighters who were not in the freedom struggle for the people. They were in the freedom struggle for themselves, because you must remember that before independence, Zach, I said that we'll be getting back to this. Before independence, there were very few people that were educated. So a few people that had gone to school, they're the ones that took advantage of the situation. So you know what? We're going to take over. That's how you find that a group of people came together, fought for independence, and they're the ones that took over the country. So now, when they saw that things were not the way they were, they started using authoritarian kind of rules, to rule. And in the name, almost all the countries, including the people that we admire, like Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, all these people, they imposed one-party states in their countries. They didn't want, divergent views, opposing views, because they were saying, no. Everyone was saying, these are tribal views. Hey, what? Even, when you talk about the One Zambia, One Nation, these slogans, they came as a result of such divisions. So now, today's politicians, they think that it's okay to actually copy from that same playbook, but without actually thinking, so that actually those people, they didn't maybe have a plan. And the reason why they wanted to be in power is because they saw an opportunity that presented themselves, because there were very few educated people at that time, and they said that, what? These whites, when they go, it's us who are going to be in power. It's us who are going to be enjoying. That's why you find that, especially in other countries, a lot of, those people that, got power at that time, they became wealthy. They started killing their opponents and that's when there's been conflict. So what do we need to do? I think for me, I believe that there has to be a generation takeover of the leadership, in Africa, that does not look at tribe, a generation that has grown up, living side by side with different people, a generation that has been, born from parents from different sides, of the country, a generation that, wants to build a name for themselves, to say, what, for me, I want to contribute this to this country. I want to do this and this. That's what we need to do. Not what I think we need to do that.
Let's take some more messages I've got here. I'm David Soneka from Ndola, listening obviously through via iWeb FM. I'm PF member, but what you are saying is true. This party, UPND, has done nothing, and they should actually stop supporting Mao Sampa. I've got a message on Facebook from Mulumbeni Chirwa, who says, as a person who voted for change in 2021, I feel like things have gone from bad to worse.
What's the name?
Mulumbeni.
Mulumbeni, okay.
Mulumbeni Chirwa.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like things have gone from bad to worse. The UPND government has really disappointed us. So my question for you is, when you come into power, will you blame the UPND for the shortfalls? Because us as Zambians are tired of propaganda. What realistic things would you do for us Zambians? All right. Let me give you one more call again. Good morning.
Good morning, Zaki. Good morning, Mr. Andyford, Mayele, Banda.
How are you today?
I'm very fine, thank you. Mr. Douglas Simon from Chingola.
From Chuempala in Chingola, Mr. Douglas.
In Chingola, where people have died because of illegal mining.
You say your name is Douglas?
Douglas Simoni.
Douglas Simoni. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, people here in Chingola have died because of illegal mining. These people have died mysteriously. They were sent by the people in leadership of the Chingola command. The UPN leaders, councillors, the people involved, they sent these people down the lane. I was saddened when the president said, we are sorry. I want to know, when he says we are sorry, what did he mean? Who are the we? He was supposed to say the government, and he saddened, but he said we are sorry. These people have died because they are heroes. They went down the pit to make ends meet. They have no jobs in Chingola. I want this government to compensate these people heftily because they've died as heroes fighting to revive the economy of Chingola, where there are no jobs, there is no water, there is no cheap meaning. All things are expensive. Can the president fire the mines minister? Mr. Mine Minister, Mr. Kokabuso, you are very lucky I'm not your boss. You've been scandal after scandal. Look at the mistakes of our people. It's because you have allowed these pastors in Chingola to be involved in illegal mining. People complain of illegal mining. We are tired of you. Mr. Kabuso, I repeat, you are lucky I'm not your boss. I was going to fire you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Douglas Mooney, for that. I've got a message. Good morning, moderator and the guest. Is it a crime to say that the UPND promised a lot and they have failed to fulfill 3/4 of the promises? I think the UPND is a failed project. The guest is articulating so well. It's up to keep it up. You are the government in waiting. This is Elijah from within Ndola. Thank you very much, Elijah, for that. 0955-221. Number you're calling us on for your messages. It's 0761912493. Let's pick this call. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Zaki.
How are you today?
I am okay.
Twashubuka mkwaya tivani mkwaya inokobade tuminamko.
You are done busy kuchingora.
Banani?
Don't busy.
Don't busy.
Mkwaya kana be some Banda muri sebunani.
Sebunani mkwaya.
Kari problem yenu mwa kuchipata.
Chavi pafye mulelosha. Chavi pafye tulelosha the country. With a credit.
Esa fe pantanshi. Problem yenu Banda mwa kuchipata obwashanga mwaisa murusaka mumona kwakina kali mwe CTN. Mulala na language ya kumyeni. Nisamukuranda ke muchisungu nomba shishirera yaba pari apa manene keranga takwa chichi bachitasha nya understand ke mureranda mureveresha kuno kuranda ukalanguage ya kumafuma bwana.
Tumwa mfanga twali chirandire.
Ayo no problem wanza ndo inesha kwa bironga zikamureranda.
Kai tule bonke universal language tatrefuat no.
Awe. Bambu atabare understand bafumine kwa kare buskuru. Banda natotera sana mkwai kulingana na situation tufikire po Banda na bakonfa bonse na bazaki na ine wini this time ama politics atresenda mucharo chesu cha Zambia kema politics etilingire okusenda icho ndera ndanisi mara sasa nga chapa lingire ino Banda na mkwata solution yako wachitwa bombera po murefu aya ino mwita kibile kintu kiri echo mushiya ya dia mukwete isedi mufunye mushiteko share na abanene murefu afirima chikanonga ni mwe murete kero mwabombera pali ili idea yo mukwete. That's why leadership ile tushukira sana mu Zambia. Nomanga tako ati murete kafire fe bare kita ama opposition tware kwata bavereki basato mo wabo ulale mu chibote. Ebyo abasabare kana beno mo wabo ulale mu chibote. Mwale mone fe bare tera ma checks and balances. kyashupa syomwine ukana kitasiru kulingana nesyo alanda beta imomo alanda dani kusa syomukulakonde maseli yonse fye ba opposition mena mukonde maseli yonse fye yo UPND nafirwa bagikusa mukulanda chikwatoke na mulibomba pali free education mwalingisha teachers nurses nayambe civil servant na CDF mwaikatako mwalondolo okola tinamukitaguno kuli sino mbapashalire sana iyo ineki eire bantu bakiunderstand kyaki ne babanda nabenshi obutekwapo obulefiri okubombera nyapa napa nga kyabati bali bavotera babanda batesa abombera pali abalandire nomba problem mulafisa pali tamufuwa yokola kino kiteko idea abanene bana bakwateko idea so inekyo ndefu nisula gofinze bonse mu bali mu opposition kyakweba kimule twala ma checks and balances kubuteko ukulingana n'efiri background imwe mu muleta background mwabarondorera babuteko nga bakana okunfwefe mwabarondorera tababombere ili kesa mu makampeni ero mutese bebo kwati twali bebere kuba kimubombere paris tababombere mwika bavotera na mwiba votera mwangufatera banda ndenye bakairi nicheni ne bombo yawe yabushikumuke safwa ine ne dendi ya tio dendi chepipite makampeni ili yeko tufire tukwese mukuma makampeni so ndefo anebere limo akupere nyama checks and balances pali aparefo iko kubombera mwali mwana sino fine turera ndaturero shabonse ndecha befire chika kumani umuntu ukufumase kunganda babanda ukuya fene jake kigula kupichi kuya mukupopwa sino bamanekere kufya na bena bakampanda bali fika kokuja instead ya kwate go uruse ukubura kungani kanda maka kwete aya shire bali yakuyabure money power stopping yo padira money power ili ya bombere chapamo bale kwa sadari kelese government ya choka ili bali tuntumbo kwa chikyo sibaka bombera konomba ninchi twala ikarasha ni mutali tifika Zambia babanda kwenda kuri zinga fweniko singiringa rondoro nomba kashita mwampira mutali bazachi hadi chepa na totera bombewe
totera sana ba Don Busy. I've got some messages. Albright Mutwale says Mr. Andyford Banda is speaking sense. May you continue, or may he continue. He says, and Gerard Tembo, I'm listening from Sinda in Eastern Province. Mr. Banda, you are speaking the truth. Please continue with the good work. Good morning, Mr. Zach and the guest. Brilliant speaking, very articulate indeed. I want to acknowledge all what you are saying. The UPND are the main sponsors of all these wrangles that the PF is going through. And imagine whatever Miles Sampa says, the government of the UPND expressly approves without delays. What the UPND should not forget is the path they have taken will definitely backfire, and it will cause more damage to the UPND itself, who have continued to fostering division in the country. Thanks. And we didn't get a name. Let me look for the name somewhere, because we obviously, okay, this is Sam from China. Thank you very much, Sam, for your message. We've got quite a lot of messages. Let me just see if we can read a few more. Good morning, Andyford. You are such a brilliant fella. Please don't listen to such people. I won't mention them, who is everywhere defending the wrongs of the UP. Allow them to sing the loudest. Time is coming. People are hungry, but those praise singers can't see. This is Mwila from within Lusaka. Morning, Banda. Morning, Zach. Please speak out for Zambians people, and please speak out for Zambian people and tell the President Hakainde Hichilema to respond to every cry of Zambian people. It doesn't make sense. You bring free education and increase the cost of living. I'm upset with this government. I voted for them, but I'm disappointed big time. This is Mr. Zulu from Lusaka, and quite a number of messages, apparently. Good morning, Mr. Zach and Mr. Banda. All right, this is Don Busy. I think Don Busy is the one who's just from calling, had sent a message earlier. Thank you very much. Let UPND who are supporting Sampa take him to UPND, because they like him to be their leader after HH. This is Kasonde from Chingola. Would you like to respond to some of them?
Yeah, how many minutes do we have?
We've got very few minutes. I have 2 minutes for you. I have 2 minutes for you. So
Okay, quickly.
respond to what you think you can, and
Okay.
let's conclude.
Okay, so I'll just mention the names. Mulambai, Mr. Douglas Nguni, Mr. Elijah Kundola, Vadon Busy, Obrighty, Tainda, Bamwila, Mr. Zulu, Kasonde. Okay, so in nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that we have heard. I would just, give a general response because of, time.
Right.
Basically, what we can advise the UPND government is that they should stop the blame games, and actually, focus on delivering. I think the blame game time has finished. And for us, we know some of the weaknesses, that the UPND have. The UPND knew the weaknesses of the PF. The UPND knew the debt situation. The UPND knew the cadreism. The UPND knew, that, schools and hospitals didn't have enough manpower. The UPND knew that, there is unemployment in the country. The UPND knew that, businesses were still struggling, and they're struggling worse today. So the blame game ends at election. The moment you're given the power, it's over. It's an opportunity, for you to actually move. I want to agree with Mr. Douglas Nguni to say that, some of these illegal mining activities actually they're blessed by those that are in power. And it's a fact because, it's very difficult, for people to conduct illegal activities without the blessings of some politicians, on the ground. Because that is how they please them, that's how they make money and whatnot. So we want just to echo what Mr. Douglas Nguni is saying, is that yes, we want to, challenge the government to actually investigate, if the UPND leaders have been involved in these illegal, mining activities, endangering young people, in Chingola, and creating such strategies, and stuff. By Elijah, they promised a lot. And there's a lot of work to be done, and what we're telling them is that do not sleep. There's a lot of work, but don't be busy. We don't have a problem sharing ideas. People must be ready to receive ideas. And when people are sharing ideas, it's not because they're looking for jobs. But you see, in this kind of politics, it's just been war. It's been war and war and war. So it's very difficult to share ideas with people that don't trust opposition. Unless if they trusted opposition, they want to work with opposition, then ideas will be shared. So it starts with those that are in power. If they feel like they're lacking or they need some ideas, we'll give them. So thank you very much to Mr. Albright again. Yeah, we'll continue speaking sense until it gets to those that are in power. Mr. Gerard will continue to speak truth. And Mr. Sam, yes, the confusion has been created by the UPND government in the PF, and we're asking them to stop this kind of politics. And thank you to everyone, that tuned in, and we'll continue to speak, for the people of Zambia, and we'll continue to actually share our vision for the people of Zambia, so that when you give us an opportunity, we want to make sure that you are sure about, the people that you're giving that opportunity. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zach. Thank you to 5FM family, and to all the listeners, including those that did not call in.
Indeed. And I thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Great. And to all our listeners, and of course to all our partner radio stations that carried this program live, thank you very much for that. We will certainly be back next week with the Tuesday and Thursday editions of The Burning Issue. So from us, it's take care of yourselves and more so of each other. It's bye-bye for now.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your